I was in sports my whole life, and I was a catcher from the time I was 5 years old. And I had been boasting about never having knee pain. Uh, well, I had tremendous knee pain where I was going to the doctor and getting injections in my knees. I wore knee braces. I had 6 rounds of injections. I had an ankle replacement in 1999 from a police car accident that I had in 89. And so I had numbness and neuropathy tingling at the bottom of my feet and my thigh where they removed skin when they rebuilt my ankle. I was diagnosed as a diabetic, and I was on 4 shots of insulin a day, one with every meal, which was 14 units, and 40 units at night of a long lasting. And I had started going bald from the time I was 19, but I was solid skin all the way back. And that was prior to being introduced to the patches.
Wow. Okay. So when were you, how many months ago were you introduced to the patches?
We just started our 4th month of patches now.
Did you say fourth or fifth?
4th.
Fourth? Okay.
Yes.
So you've been on the X39. I know you use a few other ones, but what's happened now?
Well, now I have no pain in my left knee whatsoever. My right knee barely has any pain. I was able to get on my knees and bust up tile in a remodel at our church. As you can see, it's done away with the fact I wanted to shave all of my hair, but my wife said she didn't marry Telly Savalas. Now it's growing back, so now I can't shave it off anymore. Um, I'm getting feeling back in my thigh and actually around the ankle replacement. I'm getting feeling now. I never used to have feeling from the knees down. And like I said, I was using insulin 4 times a day, and I have a monitor on my arm. I have not used the insulin except once in the last 4 weeks. And just before we went on, I took my blood sugars and they were 96. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And the only time I had to use the insulin was when I ate a high carb meal and I knew I was going to do it. So,
Wow. Amazing.
mhm.
That is just absolutely phenomenal. But when I was talking to you today, and many people in your family have had some just phenomenal results, and with just with what you said, all the pain and the neuropathy, and many people struggle with neuropathy and a lot of those things. But I want you to just also bring in your dad a little bit here and just tell us a little bit about him and you using the patches on him and what's happened. Because I know he gave you the permission to
Yeah.
share his testimony a little.
Well, my dad was diagnosed with large B cell diffuse lymphoma behind the eye, where his eye had swelled out, and they did a biopsy, and then it quadrupled overnight in size. And so they had 5 rounds or multiple rounds of chemo were approved through his insurance company, and he went through chemo. And after the second round, the PET scan showed no more cancer in his body. However, they continued with the rounds of chemo. And through that, he had cirrhosis of the liver. The doctor tried to say he was a drinker. He's been a teetotaler his whole life. Um, he shuffled his feet wherever he went. He couldn't get into the car without my mom and somebody else helping him get into the car and get out of the car because from his knees down, there was just huge amounts of swelling. Through the cirrhosis of the liver, he would swell up with fluid. And he went to the doctor every 3 weeks and was getting tapped to remove the fluid. And they were removing anywhere from 11 to 12 liters of fluid off of him every 3 weeks. I just came over and said, Dad, I want to do this. I want to try this out. I'm going to put a patch on you. And he said, what's the Band-Aid for? I said, just leave it on 7 at night till 7 in the morning. And day 3, my mother took him back to get drained, and they only took 8 liters off of him. That was 3 days on the patch. Well, she chalked it up to maybe he just didn't swell enough. But on day 6, she called me. I was getting ready to leave for church, and she just busted up my phone and told me that because of the cirrhosis of the liver, he had some continence issues, and there was none for the whole night, and his ankles were over half the size of what they were. Day or
Wow.
week 3, they went back and they only got 6 liters of fluid off of him. And there's no swelling in his ankles now. And he just went back last week and they got like 5.5 liters off of him. And he was able to, I told him I was going to a meeting and I wanted to take a picture. He wore the same socks that my mother had to cut because they were digging into his ankles because of the swelling. And they just gathered around his ankles. And now he raised his foot up and held it for a full minute while I took a picture. And he said, now I can get in the car without people having to help me. And my brother talked to him for about 40 minutes and called me and said, when did you put these patches on, Dad? Because I talked to him and he carried on a conversation without what we typically call chemo brain, where he would just wander with his conversations. He's carrying on conversations. He's walking. He's not using his walker. He's not shuffling. He took the trash out on last Tuesday night. So.
Oh my goodness. And how old did you say your dad was?
My dad is 82.
Wow. Sometimes I am left speechless because of what we have in our hand and the gift we've been given, and what a gift this has been to you and your family, and from your transformation to your dad's. And I know you have other people in your family, but wow, how incredible. And I cannot wait to circle back around in a few months and let's talk with you. And then let's also see how your dad's doing. I can hardly wait.
Amen. Me too.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kenny, for coming tonight. I know you've inspired many, many, many.